Hey everybody, welcome back to the Jodo cast. We are here to finally sit down and break down emotionally. No, we're gonna break down the announcements from the Atomic Mass Games. I almost called it the in-flight report, the studio update. And so I'm Joe, and with me we got Kurt
Hello.
and Leo.
Hey.
And so we're just gonna go through all of the announcements they had. And I was there I was in the room where it happened, as the theater nerds like to say. Um, and so yeah, let's just blast through these and take as much or as little time as we feel like for each slide at the presentation. So
All
we
right.
start with Shatterpoint, and they showed us. We've seen the minis for Iden Versio and Inferno Squad folk before, but they gave us our first look at some of the unit cards for. So we see the unit card for Iden, Commander Iden Versio, and for the Imperial Special Forces. I think we're getting Gideon and Dell as secondary options for this, but we don't get their cards yet.
Yeah, I don't know if he misspoke during the presentation, but he might have said that Gideon is a support even, which would clash with the Imperial Special Forces unit, but he might have said support when he meant secondary. I don't know.
It
But
could be.
yeah, they're all in the pack at least.
Yeah, I mean, some of these that come with more than like 3 units have overlap, and you're going to have to pick and choose, or put one in the other squad, which is fine. So this is Evil Iden, which is interesting. This is one character. Coming up, we'll talk about Callus and what they said about Callus, but this is a character who could be like Callus. Callus and Lando, they specifically said, will have abilities that sort of represent their shifting or wavering allegiances. I am always annoyed when Lando is picked to be the light side, dark side guy. It makes sense for Callus, but they could have also very easily done it for Iden, but they didn't, which is fine. But just like, she makes more sense than Lando. Lando was never a villain. He just made a hard choice. He said, hey, I'd rather sell out Han than an entire city. And now everyone's like, oh, he was with the Empire. I'm like, eh.
Plus, he had a whole plan to undo it right away.
Right, yeah.
Probably, yeah. Anyway,
so yeah, Iden seems pretty cool.
Yeah, she has her secret droid built in on her mini and as one of her abilities too, which is kind of cool. It's not like a separate unit.
Yeah, for a force within 3, you remove all the hunkers from somebody. If they didn't have any, they get exposed, which seems real good. So you don't have to be in melee to get rid of their hunkers, and
like anti Obi-Wan or something.
Yeah, it just seems super great to be able to soften someone up before taking a ranged attack at them. Covert operations is something that Iden and the Special Forces have. Presumably the other characters in this pack will have that too, where they get to dash, and then if they end their movement within 4 of an enemy, they then get to focus and get Sharpshooter 1, so basically a super focus. So that's pretty good. It's sort of like the clones have a dash that gives you a hunker. The Ewoks have a dash that give you a hunker or a focus, and now these ones have a dash that gives you a focus, but a conditional focus, but a really good focus though, because it's an extra 2 dice, so that's cool.
I wish we could get a better look at these 2 minis, or could see them from other angles, because I mean, like, the artwork is pretty clearly a male and a female, but from here the minis both look like they're both male. I'm just
they
curious.
look like pretty chunky.
I agree. Very broad shoulders, wide waist.
They're pretty cool sculpts though. They're fine.
Imperial Special Forces have infiltration, which seems really cool, because when you deploy them, you just deploy them within 3 of their primary instead of within 2. No, normally they're within 1, so now they're within 3. So they're just in the middle of the board
Way
immediately.
up.
Is,
Yeah, that's cool. Plus, then
pretty
they can
great.
covert operations right away.
Yeah,
Cool.
so they're going to be able to be wherever you want them at, the start of the game, pretty much. The Empire sends its regards. Is that something she said in the game? This is Aiden's identity.
I assume it's from the game. Sounds like a quote.
Um, it's a thing where the kind of abilities I like that react to people getting wounded. Um, if an Empire person wounds an enemy, after that, Aiden gets to choose another enemy within 4 to get disarmed or strained, and then she gets to heal and scoot. So not as powerful as some other primaries reactions to wounding enemies, but pretty good. And then her tactic is today the rebellion dies. Each allied galactic empire scout within 4 that's not engaged gets to dash. Then she gets to dash. So yeah, the special forces do have the scout tag. So does Aiden. So presumably Gideon and Dell will as well. Seems good. There's nothing that's like blowing my mind. Like, wow, I can't wait to do that. Maybe infiltration. That seems like the most wild ability on the card between the 2 units. But the sculpt is cool. I'm gonna assume you'll be able to put her with or without a helmet.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And
she's
I
doing like
assume
the like fist up, like hold up everybody, which is sort of like the opposite of what you're doing in the game, where you're like go go go, like fighting.
I don't know. Like this is almost exactly what my Legion version of her looks like with the fist up and everything too. So
yep, same.
so I'm not. This is one of those instances where I'm like I'm not super excited about the sculpt just because it looks, so similar to what I already
Yeah.
have. I mean, but it is a bigger, more detailed version of it, so that's cool. I don't know. I
And
like.
she has the TL50 repeater, which I think is the coolest gun that she gets. Maybe that'll be reflected in her stances too.
Mhm.
All
Her
right.
stances could be really interesting. Other thing on the slide I'll point out, they started putting dates on the slide, so this is expected June of this year.
Yeah, I think they had previously said May for this, but yeah, June for sure. June. Um. So next up, they showed us the cards for Han and Chewy. Chewy, what do you guys think about that Chewy art?
I like it.
It's fine. I don't like Chewie swinging around the IG arm or whatever it is that he's got.
I
Yeah,
think that's what it is.
I don't know.
it,
It looks awkward to me.
If he looked more like the pose on the card, I think that would be cooler, but
But
oh well.
yeah.
but
Do we ever see him like one hand is crossbow, which is what he's doing in the pose?
I feel like it's a lot of recoil for one hand. It was like flying out of his hand. I know he's strong, but yeah.
They reiterated that they like to design characters based on a specific snapshot in their like a moment in their characters' lives, which sort of contradicts their design for Callus, where they said he can be good or bad.
yeah.
But so these are heavily influenced from Return of the Jedi versions of them, which is you can tell all the Han Solo abilities are
Yeah.
quotes from Return of the Jedi. Um, Han seems pretty fun.
I'll say
He's
I like Chewie's art more than Han's art, honestly.
the faces in both of them are being a little weird for me. And I though in both of them I think I like the pose in the art better than the pose on the sculpt.
Yeah, agreed.
Um, Han gets to at the start. We'll do it real quiet, like another Rebel Alliance character. If their card basically they get to dash or advance depending on if their card's in the discard or still in the deck. outnumbered but not outgunned is pretty cool. So after he shoots, he can basically just make another shot at somebody else, which I like. Reminds me a lot of his
Yeah.
action card that just gets to shoot two people.
Mm-hmm.
Keep a little optimism is kind of fun. Basically, when an ally gets wounded, um, you you get a momentum if your opponent has more momentum than you. So like
Oh, that's cool.
that's pretty neat, and I kind of fun that he's just like, hey, don't worry about it.
That could be really big. That could add
Yeah.
up.
And then, hey, it's me. Once per turn, when an enemy unit becomes wounded, remove one condition from this unit. Then he gets to dash. So after an enemy gets wounded, he just gets to scoot. And then if a friend gets wounded, in addition to keep a little optimism, which is a separate trigger, it's hard to like skim these to put them into English. After the effect is resolved, character in this unit can make a 5 dice attack. So yeah, he gets to shoot at the person who did the wounding, which is an ability I like a lot because Mother Talzin has something very similar, and I really like that. It can be huge when so they're like, "Hi, I wounded you," and then my the adult on the team walks over and goes, "I will shoot at you now. Thanks."
How dare you punch that Ewok?
Yeah. Chewy. What does that say? It's a little blurry. At the start of his thing, he gets to dash towards an allied primary. Okay, so he's going to hang out with his friend. If at the end of the movement he's within 3 of the guy he dashed towards, he gets to hunker and the other guy can heal, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you're definitely going to want to keep Chewy next to Han or whatever primary he's hanging out with. Not wise to upset a Wookiee, so you just choose an enemy within 3 and line of sight and roll 5 dice, and they just take damage based on hits and crits. Similar to Django's Not So Fast, but easier to do because you get to decide when it happens. Bodyguard is what the Magna Guards have. An intimidating presence. When he's not wounded, Rebel Alliance characters within range 2 add a expertise to their defense rolls.
Wow.
Also really good.
That's pretty
That's
sweet.
huge.
So yeah, I feel like I'm just gonna want to keep him real close to Han the whole time. Obviously, that's might any plans in Shatterpoint fall apart right away. But if you can manage that, that sounds like it'll be fun. They both look really fun to me, even if I'm not super excited about their sculpts.
Chewie also has 12 health, which I assume is got to be the most for a secondary unit.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think that's the most in the game, tied with
Or anything.
I think Darth Vader. Both versions of Darth Vader have 12 health. I think Anakin has 11. But yeah,
Sounds right. That's cool.
yeah.
And this pack is also June.
Yes. And we know this also comes with some like Rebel Pathfinders or something. We don't know what they do.
Some Poncho Boys.
Next, they showed off an image, also coming in June, of the Never Tell Me the Odds pack, which is a new objective set, and they pretty sure they said this will be the last objective we get this year. There will be more in the future, but I think this is it for the year as far as objective sets. Got a real weird layout of all the dots, which looks pretty interesting. And he mentioned there's going to be some mechanic that you're sort of like gambling in some way. Sort of, I don't know if it's some kind of push your luck thing or what, but there's some. Because if you see the revealed cards, it says
Challenging the odds.
challenge the odds supporting units, challenging the odds secondary units.
Assuming
So-
assuming the third one will say primary, probably.
Yeah, and it's too blurry for me to read what the description of challenging the odds says, but there's some sort of like
Mission map.
gambling thing, which could be fun.
Yeah, overall they didn't go into much detail about this, but Will Schick did kind of go off with some vague details about like he was like, well, there's going to be more missions coming up eventually. They want to have more missions that are very different from the existing stuff, and he teased about having like alternate game modes in the future too.
Oh yeah,
He didn't really say any details, but he said like, oh, there's going to be all this different stuff coming, so it's not just the same every time.
which very curious. That
Yeah.
sounds alternate game modes always welcome, especially if they're very fundamentally different from the base game. Like we did
Like Gonk
the
Racing.
one, yeah, or because we did the one with the Force League at Adepticon, which was it's the same game just with extra abilities thrown on. It's technically an alternate game mode, still cool to try, but give me something even more out there.
Yeah.
All right, now we got the good stuff. We got to look at Kanan and Zeb's unit cards.
Stronger
Zeb,
than Fear squad pack.
yeah, coming in July. Zeb only has 9 health, but he has 3 stamina, which is the most for any secondary, because he's got a really cool ability that says Lasan Honor Guard. So when he becomes wounded, after that's over, he can gain an injured token, then remove his wound token and all damage. Basically, he can like take just heal up right away at the cost of an additional like wound. So he's in effect still only going to live as long as other secondaries, but he can immediately become unwounded, which is huge for contesting objectives.
Yeah.
Which seems really good. I wonder if that's the longest ability title in the game. It's just something about the feel of their helmets on my fists. After he makes an attack, he can make another 5 dice attack targeting someone in the same unit. So if he's he can just kind of double tap a unit. It
Are
doesn't
you like
specify
me
another
that you
character.
have to like read out the ability names when you're telling your opponent what's happening and to make it clear what is firing off, and so you have to read these long names like all the time? I do.
Probably,
Anyways.
probably worse than like German and Polish. Karabas says, well, his unit card, well, he has 1 or more injured tokens, he can't be placed in reserve. So that's just kind of a big downside. He's probably never going to be able to be placed in reserve since he's going to have injured tokens pretty quick.
That's interesting. I feel like you don't see a lot of negative abilities on these characters, but that's interesting.
Yeah, definitely seems worth the cost to get his Lasan Honor Guard ability, which also just doesn't even cost a force. This is gonna hurt, pal. Says choose a Rebel Alliance character in line of sight. They get to dash. A lot of these abilities just let other people dash, and all of these Spectre characters we see have a thing that says let a Rebel do this. If they're also a Spectre, they do that, but way cooler. So in this case, if they're a Spectre, they get to dash. He gets to dash towards them. So he says, "You dash. Now I get to advance towards you."
If they're engaged, you may immediately take a focus action.
Yeah,
it's nice.
Kanan, a man with 2 names, he has the thing that's conditional.
A lot of men have 2 names, to be fair, first name, last name.
Yeah, yeah.
But he is one. That's true.
His a man with 2 names is just conditional on what side his stance is on. Either he's gonna refresh a force and heal, or let some people dash. Force push, same as we've seen on Plo Koon and Barris and Ventress. Very, very good. Deflect, same as we've seen on other characters. And then now I know there's something stronger than fear, which appropriately, because that quote is from when he thinks Ezra got killed by the Grand Inquisitor. When a Rebel Alliance unit is wounded, Kanan gets to double heal, then jump. And if it was a Spectre that was wounded, he may make a 5 dice attack. So, his little buddy gets wounded, he just gets to leap and start swinging. Only 2 of his abilities are like new and fancy, but I think that's fine. It's nice to
Yeah.
have abilities you recognize, so you don't have to like learn a whole new like tome of text.
Yeah.
It makes sense that you have the Jedi training type standard stuff.
Yeah.
I think both the sculpts are really good on these. Like the details, the proportions and stuff look really spot on to the
Mhm.
show, which is what you want. The art is also really good on the cards.
Yeah, I have zero complaints about the sculpts or the arts on these ones. They look real good.
I'm still gonna complain, just because
But what?
with the bases, it's still same old bases.
We could get new
I
bases.
can always find something.
Yeah, you'd think like how much effort in their production line would it cost to like introduce a new batch of base
Yeah.
sculpts like once a year or whatever?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I guess at this point, I almost wish they would have just given us flat bases instead of the same three, because I think that almost looks weirder than just like a plain flat base if you're not going to do anything. Like when the first wave came out, I was like, hey, this is pretty cool. But then it's like as you keep getting more and more and more, it just sort of like, I don't know. I think that having them all with like those same bases all together looks a little strange. I mean, not that you can't very easily customize these bases just like I do with all my Legion stuff, but
Yeah. I don't mind it, and like you said, I have like covered them up entirely for some of them. For others, like even just changing the colors between them it goes a long way. Like on some of them, oh, the pavement bit is like pink or purple, and on the other ones it's black or gray, and it
Mhm.
looks. It would be nice to have more variety, but it's kind of whatever.
I wonder if we'll see
Um,
any alternate pose options on these two. Like I'm thinking, I wonder if we would get a non-extended bow rifle version for Zeb, maybe, because that sticks out a lot.
get a rifle instead of staff kind of version.
yeah,
I could see that.
I just based on the way the rest of the pose is, I would think no, because like I don't see a way you could put like the rifle in like hand on the trigger mode and it still makes sense with the way he's standing.
I mean, unless
Like
it's
a
like
whole
a
different arm.
yeah. I mean, maybe he could kind of have it sort of like up like this, but
Yeah.
that's like about the only thing I can think with that makes sense with like the rest of that pose there. So
Yeah. Next up is the best one, the Make the Impossible Possible, aka the girl pack with Chopper, because Ezra, Kanan, and Zeb come in one, and Hera, Sabine, and Chopper come in the other one. Um, so, for whatever reason, this image file is like shittier than all the rest, and I can't zoom in as much. But let's talk about their poses real quick. Uh, art on both of them, I think. Honestly, Chopper's dome looks a little too slanted. As someone who looks at Chopper a lot, it's it's a
yeah,
pretty slight gradient, but on the art it's a lot steeper. Um, but otherwise, the art for both of them look great, and I like the sculpts for both of them. I like the one for Chopper. Sabine might be tricky to paint, but I guess it fits the character. She's kind of leaping off a big exploding crate, the
Very
default Star Wars
MCU
crate.
yeah.
looking.
I don't mind the sculpt on Sabine herself. Like I like that. I don't like the exploding crate though. Like if I were to get this pack, I would probably mod her to be like leaping off of something else than
I'm
It should be easy to
tempted.
do.
Yeah, I'm tempted to do that too. It does. I don't mind it, but if you look at it, it's like, what is it imploding? Because it's sort of a flat wave of explosion. It's there's shrapnel. Like, is she in danger here? Did she do this? Like, I would expect a lot of people might paint it with some bright colors, which would be really cool. But
I think it's full of the bread that Ray was eating, and it's like filling it up real quick.
somebody
Yeah.
like water got into the seal, and then it just went just auto baked itself.
Yeah.
I like that idea a lot. I like the chopper sculpt. He's on his rocket booster, just kind of hovering there over what looks to be the dismembered parts of a different astromech droid.
Probably an R5 or something. Yeah.
You know?
He has a rocket booster ability, so he can like jump and fly around. So that makes sense.
Yeah,
That's cool.
It's the same as jetpack, force jump, rocket boots, whatever. Just spend a force to do a jump. He has an ability called Mayhem, which sounds fun. Basically, you pick somebody within two, roll some dice, and based on the results, they just get a strain, expose, a disarm, or whatever. So for each thing. So he just walks up to somebody, you roll some random dice, they get some random conditions. He has sturdy construction, which makes him immune to pin, which is crazy.
Wow.
Because everybody's throwing out pins, and he's I think he's immune to disarm, or I think he's got protection, immune pin, and immune disarm, which all of which sound really good for support. Yeah. Which I guess immune pin must when when you're looking at these guys, you got to remember when you have a single unit or a single character support, they have to do way more to make up for the fact that they have one less body than like just clone troopers or stormtroopers. Sure. So being immune to pin probably helps with that. He has is that one of ours? I believe that works similar to Lando and R2's disguise, where basically if he's in the deck, you can't shoot at him. Ranged attacks. So I guess that's sort of his disguise.
His alternate paint jobs.
Yeah. You need to buy two and swap him out with an alternate paint job.
Yeah, depending on if he's in the see, people have not forgotten that last year at Adepticon I said if you announce Chopper, I'll buy 50. And although I never said the rate at which I would buy 50. So just maybe I'll get one a year for 50 years. Chopper, sometimes you do it right. He just after he makes an attack, he can pick a rebel that gets to dash. If it was a Spectre, they get to reposition, which is really good. Sabine does not have a jetpack. She does have the Mandalorian keyword, which is cool. Maybe she'll pair up with Din Djarin. Forge this with my family. She has that gives her synergy with other Mandalorians and Spectres. What does it even do?
You have something with a focus action.
Oh yeah, free focus. Daughter of Mandalore. Characters in this unit, she gets protection and sharpshooter, and then instead of having a jetpack, she has something that's like even better than jetpack, because all the Mandalorians, Chopper, Cad Bane, all sorts of Jedi have force jump. Spend a force, do a jump. She just has a thing that says whenever you do any type of movement, you can make it a jump instead, which is the best mobility of any character in the game at the moment, because it doesn't cost her a force, and it never will, because it's an innate, not a reaction or an active ability.
Wow, yeah.
I suppose the trade-off is most characters could do a move action and then do a jump, whereas she could spend her action to jump, although she does have ways to get free dashes, like her My Friends Make the Impossible Possible. She gets to pick a guy to dash. If it's a Spectre, they get to hunker. So she'll just want to be around people who give her free moves, and then she's gonna
maybe gets a free move from a free jump from this other thing too. I'm gonna go add some fireworks to the celebration.
That one, I think she picks an objective within 4, and then everybody around it.
Suffers
You
damage.
you roll some dice, and then they take damage for each expertise that you roll, and then she gets to jump.
Makes sense.
Which seems fine. Leia has a Endor Leia has a similar ability. I'm pretty excited about those. I think it's gonna be real fun to just run all the Spectres together.
Yeah.
Then they moved on, followed up on a tease from Mini Stravaganza in September when they teased Thrawn. No unit cards for these, just some artwork and some miniatures. So it's not accepting surrenders.
I like the name of that box.
Thrawn, Callus, and 2 ISB agents. I haven't checked if the ISB agent look is based on how the playable ones from Battlefront 2. Remember, there were some reinforcements where you could play as them. I think their armor looks kind of weird on the minis. It looks somehow fine on the
cool in the
sculpt.
art. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it's just they're painted a little bit too metallic rather than like a
Highlighted,
dark
sorta.
blue. Also,
Yeah.
the brown thigh pouches.
I think they
don't
would
know.
be fine without those helmets, man. Those helmets are just the worst. I'm
I
sorry.
like
I-
those helmets.
So I learned something about those helmets because I was reading the visual guide for the Age of Rebellion. That bit on top with the 5 holes in it is actually like a visor that slides down, and I apparently you got to look through like the one middle hole, and there's like 4 others that are useless to you.
Well-
The visual guide like said it like it's like a visor.
Well, maybe there's like a video screen on the inside.
Or it's just a blast shield that there's nothing, like the one Luke wears. Like, sometimes you just want to look at nothing.
I think the Thrawn art is really, really good. His sculpt, he's kind of standing, but the art looks extremely good.
I could easily see there being multiple option to have him holding his gun like in the art, because it
That'd be
would
cool.
just be one arm alternative. I was really hoping he would be kind of in like a shooting pose, like when you're shooting at the TIE Defender when Sabine and Ezra stole it.
It's just kind of interesting that in some ways it's not a very different pose from Kanan. They're kind of standing there. Kanan has a lightsaber out, but like something about the pose looks a lot better on the Kanan one than the Thrawn one. Just to me personally, he's kind of just standing, whereas Kanan's like really looking cool for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
The art, his chest is all puffed and he looks very determined. The sculpt, I don't know if it's just because it's like a lower res image we're looking at right now, but his head almost looks tilted in like a kind of like you've done your
He's
best
raising
and
an eyebrow.
he's unimpressed at
Yeah.
I think that's just the I don't think it's necessarily going to be like that when we see it in person.
Callus's sculpt is pretty cool. He's kind of raging out, I guess.
He's got his bow rifle deployed.
Yeah.
I really like the art for him too. That's really good.
I'd be surprised if we don't get an alternate pose for him. You can do it more like they are with in the rifle mode.
I just really hate that. I really want the Thrawn mini, but I do not want to spend any money on those ISB guys and their goofy helmets at all.
Maybe they'll come without helmet options.
Maybe. I hope they all. If you the without helmet options, they all have huge. They have huge sideburns, just like Callus. Like that's also like ISB standard issue.
That's why the helmets were designed like that. The
To protect your sideburns.
Yeah.
We're gonna see that in Andor season 2 that they instituted that policy to kind of modernize the ISB.
Yeah.
But yeah, Callus, at least in the image, is not wearing his helmet. I forget if they said that he'll have the options for that or not.
I think they mentioned anything about alternate sculpts, but I'd be very surprised if he didn't have different pose options. All they said is that this is a character who will have an ability that reflects his shifting allegiances, and he's like, "Oh, do I want to be umpire? Do I not want to be umpire?" I
Curious to
suspect
see how that works.
it might just be something along the lines of at the start of the game, pick this set of tags for him or this set of tags. Like, is he going to be Galactic Empire Spy this, or is he going to be Rebel Alliance Spectre this, or whatever?
Mhm.
It
Like you
could be
said,
as
I feel
simple
like
as that.
I'd almost rather have like a separate version of him for Rebel version.
Right. Oh, they might have said, I don't know. Will was teasing Simone about Hot Callus. I can't remember if like he comes with
Because
that
they
version
mentioned
of the
a
head.
different hairstyle, yeah.
Yeah.
I,
But yeah,
I
like you said, it's like, well, give him. He should be wearing an entirely different outfit if that's uh,
yeah, I feel like
his
he would have
vibe.
such different abilities as like Fulcrum. I wonder if we could see, like we talked about, maybe we'll get different pose options for Thrawn. It would be interesting if we got like a helmet version for Thrawn, like we see him wearing armor and a helmet. I'm
No,
guessing not, because
why do
he
you
would have the
want to
breastplate too.
ruin yet another guy in this pack with a helmet?
Helmets are great. Helmets keep you safe, unless people like the helmets. Then I like to take them off, like with the Stormtrooper Lieutenant. The other interesting thing I thought was funny when they were showing this slide was Will Schick said, "This is the first time Thrawn has appeared in a Star Wars
Uh-huh.
Miniatures game." I
I
was like,
was
no.
like, I almost stood up and went, objection.
Well, well, isn't it technically
League
like legally Imperial Assault is not a Star Wars minis game?
correct. Technically, if
Eh,
you ask the Fantasy Flight lawyers, uh, it's a tile game,
I don't think that
not a
counts.
board game. Yeah. We'll have to throw together like some kind of gotcha video where I clip that and then I go, "What's this, Will Schick? Will Schick canceled. We got him." Um, I will be very surprised if Thrawn doesn't have an ability that lets him peek at the opponent's order deck, because every Thrawn and every board game or card game has some ability that lets him like card peek. Next announcement was very surprising. The Good Soldiers Follow Orders pack, which is going to be Q4 of 2024. Basic Crosshair is a primary, and he comes with just some Imperial guys in like the black Phase 2 armor. I'm not sure if those are supposed to be clones or if they're just like that first wave of Imperial recruits from Bad Batch Season 2.
I don't know. It sure seems like clone armor and weapons to me,
Yeah,
but I
but
couldn't remember.
but yeah, in like season in well, even in yeah, in season 1, he led a group of
Oh yeah, that was
just
Season
like
1.
just like regular Imperial recruits
Yeah,
that
that
But they never really had like clone style armor,
they
did
yeah,
they?
did.
yeah, they did. It
Yeah,
was
they
just it
did.
was black instead of white.
When they went to like go kill all of Saw Gerrera's people. Um, yeah, there's not too much. They didn't say too much other than why they're like, what people were saying, why didn't Crosshair have the Imperial tag? Well, that's because there's this version of it.
Yeah.
Not a character I would have expected to see a second version of this quickly.
Yeah, it's kind of cool though, because we don't in most games we don't really get this era. I mean, it's kind of only an era we're only now seeing in media and stuff, but it's kind of cool to get this different time
Yeah,
period. Like Maplewood.
I'm not excited about this pack, but it is a cool. I think it's cool that it exists to fill in that slot, give you more options for your Imperial people, but it's not. I just tend to not play Imperial guys as much, so there's nothing that interesting about these. They did say they had a lot of fun figuring out how to make a flamethrower a unique thing in Shatterpoint. I'm curious.
Yeah, that's like the secondary unit. All the sculpts and art look cool to me.
Yeah, yeah, they all look really good.
It'd be
Wonder how
cool.
many. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I wonder if it can like do a thing where like, so you know how like when you do uh like I forget, like a shove or whatever, you can use like, you're supposed to kind of use like the angled
Uh-huh.
to kind of, I wonder if you can do, if they'll do something like that, but you can use it to like mark off like a cone sort of where you will do damage inside or something like that with the flamethrower.
I'll
That
be curious to see. I
yeah,
mean,
like you it would just say, roll 5 dice, all units at range whatever in front of you take that damage, which would, I think they use towards in a ways, but that's what, those are the words that kind of like say, hey, look at this little cone of or
Uh-huh.
cone thing. But
we'll have to see, I guess. I mean, they've done it pretty abstractly with the gauntlet flamethrowers on Mandalorians. That's just their melee attack. But I could see a special keyword that's like, after you do an attack, do blah 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 to something at range 2. It gets pinned and blah blah blah. I don't know. It'd be real interesting to see.
yeah, or if your target is a Wookiee, roll twice as many dice. Next up, unexpected, very cool announcement with just all around phenomenal art and sculpts is This Is the Way squad pack, which includes the Armorer, presumably as the primary, has Vizsla as the secondary, and then 2 generic Mandalorians as the supporting units. Probably just going to be New Republic era Mandalorian tags. We don't know much else about them other than he said all of them include abilities that are This Is the Way something or other. So it's probably going to be like, this is the way I hit you with a hammer. This is the way I shoot you with my gun or whatever.
Yeah, I mean they all look cool. Good poses, good art. It'll be cool to get more different takes on Mandalorians that you can use in more eras and pair them up with more stuff. I'm sure they'll
Right.
pair well with Din.
Yeah, and now we have 2 Mandalorian primaries. The only thing now is those Clone Wars Mandalorians, like, you can't mix and match them inside a squad because they're not going to have era overlap. So
Yeah.
you couldn't like give the Armorer the Super Commandos as their secondary, which too bad. But that Paz Vizsla mini looks real cool, and I really like that Mandalorian on with the jetpack. I like
Yeah.
that pose with the cape. The smoke actually looks really cool on that one, I think.
I was just gonna say, I'm gonna have to maybe look at like, see if we could get like some kind of flight stand, cut that smoke off there.
I like it on that one. Uh, I don't know how I feel about the guy mid jetpack rocket launch.
I think
Sort
it's
of
kind of
such
cool.
it's kind of cool, but when it's like a snapshot that I have to, he's like, oh, he's still firing it, it's still coming out, like he's still hunched. It's like it's a pose that
Like
like
slowly squeezing it out.
you look over it, like, how's that rocket coming? He goes, oh.
I don't know. That one doesn't bother me. I like it.
I think it's just a pose that in live action would be over in like a second, whereas most other minis have a pose that makes sense that they could be in
I don't
throughout the
know.
whole battle.
I mean,
You know what I mean?
it's no different than like any of the poses of like, sometimes if you have like a guy with a lightsaber jumping, or whatever, like,
Sabine on an exploding box, or
yeah.
I think they
Yeah,
do a
but
lot
she
of them.
could jump from exploding bread box to exploding bread box. This guy's got one rocket.
How do you
I think it's
know?
like full auto. It's just like shooting constantly.
Okay, I like that. um, okay, so this next one is the highlight of the whole presentation for me between Shatterpoint and Legion. The We Don't Need Their Scum unit pack, not squad pack, explicitly pointed out that these are all secondary units. This is not like an out of the box squad like every other package has been so far. These guys are all
really
secondary,
interesting.
and we've got Boba Fett, IG-88, Bosk, and Dengar. I really like all of the sculpts except Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Boba Fett sculpt, I would say, is fine. Um,
It looks
there's nothing.
it looks almost exactly like the Legion one again.
Yes, except it looks like he's shooting a pistol, and his EE3 is in like his offhand.
Yeah, so it's just like if you reversed his arms, or if it's sort of like it's a mirror version of the Legion sculpt, basically.
Right, which is kind of weird. Like again, the pose in the art is a little cooler for Boba, even though it is still pretty similar.
It reminds me a lot of, I think, the Imperial Assault card is that same pose too.
Yeah,
But yeah, IG looks cool. Bosk's sculpt is extremely cool. He's like
That's
roaring and has his
sweet.
claws out.
and he's standing on a crossbow, a Wookiee bowcaster.
Oh, that's what that is. Yeah.
I like that.
Dengar. Now this probably goes against what I was just rambling about with the other guy, but I really like Dengar's pose, even though it's just sort of a
Leaning on a box.
there's a little Kowakian
Oh.
monkey lizard sticking his head out of the
Yes.
box, which is
Yeah.
great. I like it. He's got this big gun on his arm. He's holding some binders. I don't
Yeah.
like the Dengar art. The Dengar art
Yeah.
looks real goofy.
Yeah, it's ironic that
I've
like
been-
I absolutely hate Dengar and think he's like the dumbest looking Star Wars character ever, except for maybe Sidon Athano.
Man,
Wow.
you gotta get
Shots
your
fired.
brain checked.
But he's actually my favorite mini in the pack. Like I think he's the coolest looking one of the four.
He looks burlier than he normally does too. I agree that Bosk is my favorite. The little monkey sticking out of the box is really funny. Bosk, super good. Like the strap on his gun waving in the wind, just phenomenal. IG-88 is fine. There's nothing special about it, but there's nothing bad about it either. It's IG-88, who's just kind of cool enough by default.
Might be easy to mod him too. Do you think
Yeah.
we'll see alternate pose options for any of them, like a helmetless Boba? Probably not.
No.
It would not be a helmet. That's something that they'd need approved by licensing, and licensing would not do that. Yeah, it's just kind of weird that the Boba Fett one is just sort of the least exciting. Even though I've been patiently waiting for Boba Fett to come to this game, he's just sort of like, well, I feel like we've seen that 3 or 4 times before.
And it's interesting that him and all the others are all secondaries. Like, I guess I would have expected Boba to be a primary. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but like, like Boba's a leader in Unlimited, for example, right? Like he's like a top tier character, so you'd expect him to be a primary.
There probably will be a primary version of him at some point too.
I'm expecting Old Man Boba to be a primary because that's these guys are all loners. This is Empire Strikes Back version of them. They're whatever. So these are secondaries who you're hiring onto your squad. Whereas like Old Man Boba, he's a leader. He's got friends. You put him with Chrysanthemum or Fennec or the Scooter people. Man, give us the mods in this where they are on their scooters, but like they don't have anything that makes them any faster than just somebody on foot.
Make them slower than people on foot.
Yeah, they're only allowed to dash. They cannot advance.
So for all the complaining though about this Boba pose being so similar to the Legion one, this one I actually don't mind the flames and the smoke on though. Like it looks more interesting to me than more visually appealing than the stuff like on that previous Mandalorian.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't mind it either. So,
and those are also Q4, by the way.
Yeah, definitely. It's all downhill from here. Next up is Maximum Firepower Squad Pack. Looks pretty cool. We got Veers, Snow Trooper, somebody or other, probably a sergeant or a lieutenant, and then 2 Snow Troopers. The Snow Trooper secondary is cool. He's got like binoculars and he's pointing. Love a good pointing stormtrooper.
I'm super excited for this pack. Although
What is Veers is standing on some sort of wreckage that has a rebel logo on it, which is kind of cool.
yeah, I wonder if it's gonna end up being like if it's gonna look like a chunk of a snow speeder or something like that. I don't know.
Could be that like Kraken was standing on some random debris that had like a Republic logo on it. They're like, who knows what it is, but it was something of the Republic that broke. So it's probably just some nondescript metal. But they pointed out that this will have a new rule that shakes things up, where Veers will basically have attacks that come from outside of the table or the play space. So he's calling in like orbital bombardments or something, which sounds.
Like
I mean,
something
crazy.
something Veers has done before in maybe another game.
Yeah. I wonder if it's going to be like the Ewok Trapper card where they have a thing that goes in your order deck that like targets an objective when you pull it out.
Mm.
Or if it's just going to be like a thing you spend 2 force, pick a guy, everybody, around that guy gets hurt. All right, here's another one. Veer's art, Veer's sculpt, which has a better pose.
I like the art.
I like them both, but I actually like. I think I prefer the sculpt for like the actual mini on the table, except for maybe that wreckage. I don't know. We'll see. It just seems sort of like a weird thing to have him standing on. I'm
Yeah,
really
it certainly looks like he's not like supporting himself on it, so you could easily remove that. It looks like.
I'm really interested in the like the snow trooper, yeah, like lieutenant or whatever he might be, and just like the slight differences in the in his armor that versus the
Yeah.
other two. Like
Yeah, he doesn't have knee pads.
yeah, he doesn't have knee pads. He doesn't have the like
bang his knees up.
the hip pouches.
Oh yeah.
Where's he gonna store
that
his
guy.
binoculars?
Yeah.
It looks like he probably doesn't have a backpack either.
Yeah,
Where's he gonna carry his snacks?
lunch?
So yeah,
Now,
It's a trooper's carrier for him.
just in
Got-
general, like I'm looking forward to checking out that stuff. I mean, I
I didn't
Yeah, his
notice that at all.
backside.
Yeah, I wonder how that's got to be intentional
Turn that
because
mini
there's a
around.
lot, at least 3 major differences. We did note there were sculpting errors on the stormtroopers that came with Vader, but this is got to be intentional because that's a lot of things, and he's like a different kind of guy, which is cool. He's like, you know what? I'm too important to have these extra pouches.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
gonna
know,
make
maybe
my
they-
men carry my stuff.
It's
I
in the
think
art
that's where-
too, actually.
see the lieutenant actually makes all of his troops up 2 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches before they go into battle. They carry those one in each pouch on their hips.
All right, next up is the What Have We Here squad pack with Lando, Lobot, and everyone's least favorite goons, the Cloud City Wing Guards.
I like Wingard.
They just, every time they show up in something, it's like, oh, Wing Guards again, which I think has only been Imperial Assault and Unlimited, but still.
Whenever I see them, I go, "Ooh, Wingard."
They guard their bouncers at like Buffalo Wild Wings.
Lando is looking good, both the sculpt and the artwork.
Really
Yeah.
good art.
Yeah.
I like the detail on the inside of the cape on the artwork. I'm excited for Lobot because Lobot is an oft neglected character, and the comics have only made me love Lobot more, and his pose is real good. He looks really suave. He's like, I'm a robot man with a gun.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do about it?
The paint
Kind of like Disco Lobot.
the wing guards look like they're wearing like very
Reflective?
shiny outfits instead of their normal cloth stuff.
Yeah, the art. One of them is a man and one is a woman, and in the sculpts, I think the one on the left you can see a little ponytail popping out back there. Yeah, all of those look good. The only thing they said was Lando will have a similar feature to Callus, where he'll have something where you sort of pick his allegiance before the game starts.
I wonder if the wing guard will have an ability like it's kind of a canon thing that their pistols like basically cause extreme pain.
Oh, the
So I
Stinger
bet
pistol.
yeah. I bet it's like when you shoot someone, they take like a bunch of condition tokens or something.
I see them just having like, uh, the first step on their tree being a strain or something,
Yeah.
or just coordinate fire strain.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, looking farther into the future, Q1 2025. This is our first unpainted minis. We got Requesting Your Surrender Squad pack, which is cool. It's got Kit Fisto doing some kind of leap off of some banana peels. I don't know what he's launching himself off of, but the pose is pretty cool. And Nadar Veb, the little chump who gets ganked by Grievous in the Lair of Grievous episodes of the Clone Wars. These guys are from...
He's a Mon Calamari Jedi if you're not watching the video.
Yeah. Well, you probably are. I don't think this is going to be on the podcast
Oh,
feed.
okay. Maybe you're listening and not watching. Anyway.
That's also a good possibility. Both of these sculpts look really cool. I always like getting like a Glup Shido in the game because Nadar Veb he's Glup Shido material. He's just some dude. He dies. He's in one episode. That's fun.
Did they give a hint at who else would be in this squad pack with these two?
Not that I recall. I'm gonna go ahead and assume it's just gonna be more clones from some other division, based on every other Jedi pack so far.
Could it be so? Both of these are aquatic characters. Could we maybe be seeing? Maybe they'll come with the. Because isn't there some clones in like the Lee Char episodes that have like diving gear or something like that look kind of like ARF troopers?
I think they're like scuba troopers or something. Yeah, they look like ARF troopers with some like breathing tubes and backpacks and flippers.
They have a special rule like you can only use them on a water map and otherwise they cannot move.
I'm gonna expect they will be paired with whatever clones were with them in that episode of the Clone Wars, because that was the only time we ever saw these two together. Nadar Veb was Kit Fisto's Padawan, though at the time of this miniature and in the show, he is a Jedi Knight on his own.
Yeah, okay. That I guess would make sense too. I don't remember those episodes, so
I don't remember
like a layer of Grievous or something.
Yeah, it's some dumb stuff, some cool stuff. Cool when Nadar Veb gets killed. A lot of
I hate him and I love when he dies. Screw this guy. I'm so glad he's in this game so I can kill him.
A lot of cool Grievous stuff where Grievous's like legs are cut off and he's like scuttling around on his arms. Yeah, surprising and cool. Even though I tend to play Republic less, I still like the characters. Next up is Wisdom of the Council Squad pack. This one is also interesting. It comes with Ki-Adi-Mundi and generic Padawan. We see a Nautilin Padawan, but they said it will have alternate heads, so you can just kind of make whatever little generic Jedi Padawan you want, which sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
Q1 2025. And that was it for Shatterpoint.
Leave the head off if you want it to be like a post-Order 66 Padawan.
Yeah. All right, so that's all the Shatterpoint stuff. So if you're tuning out now because you only care about Shatterpoint, thanks for watching. Comment your favoriteest thing and why is it Dengar's monkey box. And if you're just if you skipped ahead to this point for Legion, welcome to the video. All right, let's look through Legion. Range Troopers was the first thing.
Woohoo!
Those come out next month.
Yeah.
I think they're pretty cool looking. I don't play Empire. I just think design-wise, their advanced targeting trooper is cool. Basically, if you shoot at a trooper, you get a name. And I think it's cool that they're supports.
Yeah, that was something that Will Schick specifically mentioned is like, let's have some units in different slots that don't have as many options. They don't have to all be core or special forces. So I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah, and I just imagine an army with, these guys and special forces guys and core troops. Just so many
Yeah.
little dudes, more than you've probably seen outside of a droid list, which is cool.
Mm-hmm. Lets you really get a lot of them on the table, which I like for sure.
They're
Although
the
I'm,
first.
although I'm, although I won't be able to slot these guys into my Blizzard Force, even though like visually they feel like they would be right at home in there.
Maybe they'll update the thing, but probably not. Um,
I was gonna
Interesting
say
basing they put on these minis. They're like walking in like a dry area. Not that like it couldn't be cold and mountainous.
some kind of a
but-
tundra.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have like a bunch of keywords: armor one, indomitable, scale, and spur. Those like little guys riding them and kicking them to go
Yeah.
faster.
It's interesting that they have armor 1. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
from
Maybe
their
that.
cool leather coats, their fur.
Yeah.
Mm.
They have two heavy options that we see the cards for: a DLT-20A and a T-21A, not
Yeah.
T-21B.
Yeah, it's a prequel to the T-21B. Have we ever
It-
seen that before?
I don't think so. I don't know.
Also, their E10R blaster rifle.
Yeah. Did you notice their DLT is it's range 1 to 5 instead of 1 to 4, so
Yuck.
Oh.
Gross. I'm gonna hate these guys.
and
So also their
and it is impact 2 instead of impact 1.
wow. And their melee is gription boot kick. So they will kick you with their cool ski
Yeah, they
claw
kick
boot
you, and
things.
then their boot like sticks to you, and they shake you around. They do like a gator death roll. Then we got the look at the clone commandos. They posted a preview article for these today or yesterday. So
Oh, I didn't see that.
yeah, they have to equip their Katarn armor, which is just a deplete to reduce all damage from an attack to 1, I believe.
Wow.
The once a game thing. Complete the mission sounds kind of cool. During setup, you like pick a spot on the map, and then basically, if they're close to that, they get some bonuses, which is interesting game design and like going to be interesting for strategy.
They also have infiltrate, recharge 1, target 1, and shielded 1.
Yeah, shielded.
Uh,
Pretty good.
They only have 1 health per mini. I was a little surprised, but I guess they have these other abilities to maybe make up for the damage.
That Katarn pattern armor. Yeah, if they're near their little mission bubble, they can surge to block and get critical too. Otherwise, they don't
That's nice.
surge. Their main gun is built-in suppressive, which is insane to me.
Yeah, but they don't have any. There's no heavy weapon that they can equip. So
There is. Well, it's a.
oh yeah,
a
they've got
configuration,
they have
not a unit.
an armament.
Yeah.
I believe
Right,
it's
yeah.
called. Yeah.
Which I was trying to, because you flip it to the sniper version or the anti-armor version, and I wish they had like a 3-sided card, because in the video game it's the basic gun, the sniper version, or the anti-armor version, whereas in this they always have the regular gun out and then one of the other ones. It's like, well, you should only have one of those 3, not basic plus some of the other ones. But then again, all 4 of those guys should be able to just have whatever, so you should have all 3. But
They're like 4 copies of the card equipped, and each is on 1 guy.
yeah.
And these are also a support, right?
Yes. And these come out next month as well. Then they showed us the Bad Batch, which we got to look at their unit card slightly earlier because they gave us all promo versions of it at Worlds. They look very cool. All their upgrades is just 5 heavy slots, and you're required to equip Hunter, Wrecker, Echo Tech, and Crosshair. And their thing is they just don't token share with the rest of the clones. They don't get along with them. They seem fine. Obviously, we're going to need to see. We see the Hunter card and the Crosshair card. We don't see Echo Tech or Wrecker yet.
Yeah.
I am curious if you will be allowed to equip either Echo, because there's already an Echo upgrade card. And it's also weird to me that Echo is required, because if I'm playing Republic, which I don't do, I would maybe want to play them from an earlier time in their history before they adopted Echo. You know what I mean? To be able to play him without Echo. He's not as intrinsic to the bunch. And then they will be mercenaries rebel affiliation, and that's the only way you can take Omega. So Omega can only be in a rebel list. She can't fight for the Republic, and she's kind of weird. Could be really good. Basically, she can do objective things like sabotage or pick up boxes, even though she's not the unit leader. So you could like cohesion her
Interesting.
out to grab the box, and then the box like teleports over to Hunter.
So
Yes,
I will point this out, kind of going back to the Echo thing too. This unit is an operative, and the existing Echo card is Arc Trooper or Core Clone Trooper only. So it's got to be
okay.
a new Echo.
Yeah.
Also, that Echo's a leader, and so like there's a bunch of weird stuff going
Oh,
on. But
sure. Okay, that makes sense. So you're
yeah, so
gonna
it's got to
get
be a
stuck
new
with
Echo.
the Echo, whose skill set is redundant with tech.
One-armed Echo. Yeah.
Wonder what he's
Yeah.
gonna do. Like tech and Echo, like mechanically.
Repair probably.
Yeah, probably repair something that. Yeah, okay. Crosshair has a range 5 gun, critical one. Okay. Those minis look great. I'm excited for them, and I'll be able to play them with Rebels, so it's all good. I'm looking forward to them. Next up, we get a better look at the Rebel sleeper cell that they showed last year in an unpainted form. These guys are cool because they're just way less organized rebels. Just some guys who want to shoot stormtroopers, and that's about all there is to them.
Didn't they say this is gonna have a bunch of different head options and stuff, so you can customize these guys a bunch?
Yes.
Was that this or the new Rebel Trooper skull?
I believe that's this one, maybe all of them. And
That'd be cool though.
all of there's 3 minis that are holding 2 pistols. All 3 of those ones are dual-wielding Briar pistols, from what I can tell. You can see in the Rhodian in the artwork in the back is holding 2 chunky pistols. Looks like there's a guy with like a T-21. People with the DC-17s. Is that what that pistol's called? I like the one with the Lothcat. That
Guys,
I'm
a
not sure
proton charge too.
not sure what's going on with that droid. In the artwork, it looks like an
R4.
The mini looks like an R5. But like we already have an R5 in Legion, so I'm not sure if they're gonna have some like minis wise. You're gonna have to like usually you want to have the mini distinct so you don't get confused.
Maybe it'll have multiple head sculpts too.
That'd be cool.
So you could make it like an R4, an R5, an R2.
I feel like when they previewed this last year, there was a look at a droid that was on treads that almost looked like some kind of like mine dropping droid. There's definitely somebody who's holding a bomb in their hand, and another guy who looks like he's pushing the button on a bomb. And I can't quite tell, but he almost looks like a Dracelian, a prune face.
I don't know. It might just be his weird bowl cut.
Yeah, it could be hair that's very similar color to his skin. Yeah, those guys look cool. Love the art. Like the Lothcat in the art.
Yeah.
So then, like, sort of the opposite of these guys is the Riot Control Squad, which comes with Stormtrooper, Riot Troopers, and KX droids.
So they've got shields cool. like the shield guys in Jedi Survivor, like metal shields. He said shock prods. It's like a unit leader guy. It's like a DLT-18X or whatever crazy sniper rifle thing.
He said that you can put up to 2 of these KX droids in your squads, but I forget the upgrade restrictions that made it possible for that.
I'm
but
real excited for these. I think
they
the
look
shield
cool.
guys, the shock prods, the KX, that's all like really neat.
Yeah, the minis look great.
Yeah, it's hard.
I'll be-
It's kind of hard to tell because all the stormtroopers are all kind of hunching down or kneeling, but the KXs look a little small to me, maybe, or like they almost look like they're too short, maybe. But it's
I guess we'll
we'll have to see
it,
when they're out, like when you actually get to see them in person.
Yeah.
compare it to the K2 minis, see how they line up. Um, yeah, those come out quarter 4 of this year. Um, it's curious that they chose to do the stormtroopers rather than like the riot cops from Andor, but this isn't
Still
the
cool.
first time we've seen stormtroopers like this. Then we got another look at the crab droids. Come with 2 of them. You can see they've got some different weapons mounted underneath them. Cool
It's like a
sculpt.
little gun or a big gun, sort of.
Yeah, I like
Looks
these.
fun.
Look pretty fun.
Yeah, dig the paint jobs on them in the promo art here.
Then I don't unless is there anything else
Those
to
are
say about
also
these guys?
Q4.
Crab. A new terrain pack coming out. So
Outer Rim
comes
Battles.
with a mouse droid, a Camtono, and then some boxes of various size and the debris. And mainly, it sounded like the big thing is going to be these modular walls. They said these walls can be kind of mix and matched, and you can assemble them how you like. So it won't have to look like it does in this picture. Not sure if that's the maximum amount of plastic that comes in the box, or if there's more walls that aren't pictured. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
weird.
the only thing I worry about is like the whole like corner of a ruined building thing feels very sort of like 40K table to me, you know.
Yeah.
So I hope that, you know, this isn't necessarily going to be um, a trend. Like we'll see some more variety and not just everything being a ruined building.
Well, we got the crashed X-wing. Wasn't
Yeah.
was that AMG or was that FFG? I think that was AMG.
That was an MG.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next up,
Real quick though,
eyes.
do
Oh,
we
yeah.
think this train pack's gonna come with a mission that's like get the Camtono or like chase the mouse droid?
Oh, that would be great.
Chase the mouse droid would be a hilarious mission.
So they announced Aqua droids. 4 are pictured, and they all are on the small notched base. So like the MK Mark II blaster size. These guys are real big, and I don't come out in quarter 1. People seem really excited about these. I'm just sort of confused by them. It's cool. I love kind of more deep cut things, but like they're aqua droids. Last I checked, Legion tends to be above the ocean.
Yeah, I'm real curious what sort of unique ability they're gonna do or give them to sort of you know, reflect their primary mission being underwater.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe they'll get like a they'll be maybe it'll be something like dark troopers that are unconcerned or whatever, where like there's some kind of downside because it's like they're not in their primary mission zone. Maybe they'll be really good, but with some kind of like, oh, it's too dry here. Can't take dodge tokens or something.
I wonder if they'll have an interesting deployment thing that's like, oh, they swam up from a different area, you know, like an infiltrate type thing. I don't know. We can see on the leftmost mini, you can tell it has like a cannon arm that looks like the B2 Ha or whatever,
Yeah,
B2HA. So I don't know if that's gonna be similar to that, but you can see a heavy option.
they're so ugly. If you look at like the models from the Clone Wars cartoon, they're just real weird looking. Like they're like ankle to knee part of their leg is like this sort of flat fin, which I guess makes sense for swimming, but they're just pretty goofy. Like I said, I think it's cool that we're getting some deep cuts like that, but I'm just sort of confused as how they work in the game.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say about the Aqua droids is I actually want to go to Haunted House more than I want to go to Aqua. But these guys are coming out in Q1 2025, so we'll get more info about them eventually, I guess.
Then the Republic's getting some ARF troopers. Don't remember what
They look
rank
kinda
they
cool.
said these guys were, but yeah, they look pretty cool. One of them is standing on a sign for a cafe. It says cafe in
Okay.
Arabash. Another guy's standing on what looks like I don't know, an unexploded bomb or a lamp or something.
It's kind of dangerous. It could be a lamp. Could be a lamp. And there's one that's standing on. Is it like
It's like just a little box.
Baby Yoda's carriage thing? He's like stomping Baby Yoda, I think.
Into the ground, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Curb stomping.
And then one is it's like a box, almost like a mouse droid shape, but not quite. Maybe it's like a toaster. I don't know.
But I expect there's a lot of different colors you can make these guys, but just the guns they're holding, I would want to paint those like Kashyyyk. These are the guys you see like shooting down from the trees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're all equipped with the DC 15 or whatever, the long gun. Which
Except
is
for the guy
interesting.
with the rocket launcher.
Yeah, yeah.
Then I believe coming with the ARF troopers are generic Jedi Knights, which you can attach them as, I think, I don't remember if it was a personnel
ARF Trooper
or
Jedi attachment.
Yeah, so they come with the ARF troopers, but they're I don't know if they're only restricted to ARF troopers, but they're generic Jedi that function as either heavy or personnel upgrade slots, which are cool because we see clearly like the same sculpt with different options. Like, oh, he's got his hand out with a double blade, or he's got dual wielding with his hood up. He's a Zabrak in both instances, but I wonder if there'll be more options for that.
Different
Yeah,
heads.
I could see it.
Just for Shatterpoint and this having the ability to like customize generic Jedi to throw in wherever is very welcome. And I think people have been waiting for that for a long time. So because they're redoing all of the old soft plastic minis in hard plastic. That includes now Obi-Wan, because Obi-Wan is soft plastic in the core set. So there's a resculpt of Obi-Wan. Looks pretty good.
Looks really
I like
good.
that it's like the Revenge of the Sith Obi-Wan, so he's not in the clone armor anymore. I'm glad they didn't just redo that. So you can still have that Clone Wars look if you have the old one and then the new one. New look.
Like jumping off a dead B1. There's like a lot of detail in his belt and lightsaber hilt and stuff. Good face details. I like this one a lot.
The face looks really good. Then for whatever reason, they're also redoing Grievous, even though he was originally already in hard plastic.
Yeah, that's
in the core set. He's still getting multiple pose options like the previous Grievous. Previous, if you will.
Previous Grievous, yeah.
The previous Grievous. Which is cool.
It was interesting because they kind of said like, oh, you know, even though it was hard plastic, it was like their sculptors were kind of like new to it, is the way he made it sound. So they're like, they didn't think the pose or details or something were as good. So they're like, let's just redo it. Which I'm kind of surprised because I thought it was good.
Yeah, I thought that the mini was great, personally.
They were probably like, wait, both of his feet are on the ground? We got to do something about that.
He has some tactical dirt that he's stepping on.
Yeah. And I'd have to double check, but I think someone pointed out that this is Clone Wars model rather than live action model, which I didn't realize there was that much of a difference of until I painted the Shatterpoint version and I was looking at reference pictures. I was like, where is this part? Because I was looking at like a live action reference, and then I looked at the Clone Wars reference. I'm like, oh, like the geometry and the anatomy of his like bits are different in live action. And so this is apparently oddly based on the animated version rather than the live action version.
Well, so like I guess I don't mind that then. So it gives you a little bit more variety between the two,
Yeah.
the two
I'm not sure if
sculpts.
there's actually that much
Mhm.
difference. Like I said, I never noticed until I started painting one of them. But
Um, I like the you can see like it looks like they've got a few spots where he's kind of got some wear and tear on his cape that I like.
yeah, I like how he's got the pistol and or single arm and or all four. I'm happy that you're still going to be able to have that versatility because obviously with Shatterpoint it was monopose, one of the best minis in the game, but monopose Grievous feels a little sad when he's got such a versatile array of options. So I'm glad that this looks like it'll still be doing that. Maybe he'll even be able to stick a lightsaber in his foot more easily because one of the feet are above ground.
Yeah, I bet you could mod it. And this is coming out summer 2025, which is also when Obi-Wan's coming out, if we said that.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll pick it up and get a second Grievous because, get a new pose. My current Grievous uh, just has 2 lightsabers, so maybe I'll get a 4 lightsaber one without a cape.
Now they
Unless
need
the
to.
cape's Was the cape optional on the original? I think it was.
Yeah. They need a third sculpt now. They need to release one that's the Tartakovsky uh Grievous.
Yeah, every year, even harder plastic resculpt. Pewter. And that's it for Shatterpoint and Legion announcements. Interestingly, there was an announcement I was expecting that did not come, which was the prize wall had bumpers for all of the games. And the Shatterpoint bumper, basically 6-inch by 3-foot playmat that you put along your side of the table, put your cards on it, featured art of Rebels era Ahsoka and Vader that was clearly in the style of Rebels Vader. Um, and so I was expecting either presumably a dual pack like the Vader Obi-Wan pack, but with Vader and Ahsoka from Rebels. And that announcement didn't come. That art is out there. I was talking to Will Schick, after hours before the in-flight report, and I mentioned that, and he was like, "Interesting. I haven't seen that. Someone from marketing must have put that together." And I was like, "Okay, I guess I'll find out more tomorrow." And then didn't. That art is still out there with no official word on what its deal is. Uh, so I was expecting even like they did with Thrawn, where they just showed a little bit of the art and then mic dropped, but nothing.
But then, so we know the next announcements from them, or at least like the next big event, will be Mini Stravaganza, right? And
Yes,
that
and I
is in.
think it's in June or July.
Okay.
Usually it's in September, but this one is going to be a lot sooner, which is cool.
Yeah.
I think they said June or July.
Yeah, with it being so close to Adepticon and some of these announcements, I wonder how much new stuff we're gonna get, or maybe that's gonna be maybe when we'll hear. They did mention that they plan to talk about X-wing and Armada at a future date.
Yeah.
Maybe Mini Extravaganzas when we will hear about those games.
I
Maybe.
hope
Hope
so.
so.
The absence of news of that was definitely noticeable.
Yeah, I don't think anybody realistically expected to hear much of anything about Armada, but X-wing, I think we were still hoping to have heard something,
Yeah.
especially considering just how big the X-wing event was there.
Yeah, and so they said that there'll be something sometime, so hopefully that
Yeah.
sometime is sooner rather than later because it's a cool game and I like, even if I don't play it as much these days, I still like seeing
Yeah.
what they come out with and picking up expansion now and then.
Yeah, the right ship would like bring me back in, you know.
I was really honestly expecting the Marauder from Bad Batch to be announced because Bad Batch is in Legion and Shatterpoint. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
that's. I guess we'll find out more about that.
yeah. I'm excited for the Legion stuff.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
excited about all this stuff. Definitely most excited about that bounty hunter box and the, getting to see the abilities on the specters.
Mm-hmm.
And for Legion,
Andos and stuff, and
I guess I'm probably most excited about Bad Batch and the Rebel Sleeper Cell.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of the ARF troopers on their own wouldn't excite me very much, but the fact that the ARF troopers also come with generic Jedi, I think is very, very cool. Um,
yeah.
I think about, I mean, I guess the only thing that I'm, at least of all the Legion stuff that they talked about in this, I think the clone commandos are about the only things that I just will probably never buy. I mean,
But you will get the Aqua droids for sure.
oh right, Aqua droids too. Yeah, whatever. Unless their ability does end up being really cool. Like if they actually, like I don't expect them to actually have some sort of like water themed ability. Like oh, they can if it's impassable terrain but it's water, they can actually go through it or something like that. I don't
Here's
but
here's the pitch.
yeah, if they actually do have something cool like that, I might get some just because having a table with a bunch of water on it could be fun.
Yeah, it wouldn't be like competitive, but it'd kind of be like thematically awesome if they just went for it. We're like, yeah, there is just a water unit. Like, get some water tables.
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah, let's do it.
Well, how about this? It could be a whole new game, new break into the industry in a whole new way. A miniatures game that you play in your fish tank.
Either say in the
In the
bathtub or just
bathtub.
Well, you
The
also
train is the
bathtub,
bubbles.
but like it'd probably be more sustainable as a hobby if you had like an aquarium, because then you can have your terrain inside it and be a display piece.
And
And
there's
then
motors in them. You can actually like run them.
you'd have to know a lot about displacement to know how much you can fill it up before putting minis terrain and your arms into play starts overflowing. But there's potential there. You could keep branching. Just use the Aqua Droids and the Gungans and the Moncal and the Nautilans. We can have the Rift Tamsin commander unit, the Shark Man who eats people.
yeah,
Yeah,
Gungans
new battle forces.
Gungans could totally have the same like water traversal ability too. Maybe the Aqua droids are just the prelude to Gungans at
Yeah.
Mini
Or water
Stravaganza.
wave. Yeah.
2025 Legion gets wet. That's what's coming for X-Wing. It's going to be like just a Sando Aqua Monster and the Bongo, kind of underwater vessels.
There's always
Of
a bigger
which-
fish terrain pack.
Yeah. There was at Adepticon, we did see a table that had a huge dragon on it that probably was like 4 feet long and like 3 feet high. That,
Wow.
but a Sando Aqua Monster would probably be Legion scale, maybe. So,
We'll definitely get that before AT-ATs.
All right. So, if you stuck around through the whole thing, let us know what you're most excited about. And if you only watched the Legion bit, what Legion thing are you most excited about? Why is Leo wrong about clone commandos? Why am I wrong about bounty hunters? Tell
What
us
ab-
why we're wrong. We're never right.
What about if somebody watched the Shatterpoint bit and then skipped here to the end to
Oh.
just hear what we had to say at the end?
Well, then hopefully they already commented about the Shatterpoint stuff. But you know what? If you stuck it out or you skipped ahead, there must have been something here for you. So you should probably hit the old subscribe button, that sort of thing. Because when you do that, like it sets off a Rube Goldberg machine of I'm not sure. It ends with like me being a little happier. A little candy comes out in my apartment, and I get a little treat.